So today we are going to continue our series on growth. Today joining us is Nadine Mezher, who is the CMO of SARWA.co. SARWA is an online platform which helps making investing really easy. It takes all the hassle. So without any further ado, we'll dive right into it with Nadine and explore what are the key metrics that they follow to ensure that their fintech is on the right track for growth.
Done. All right.
Perfect. Thank you, Nadine, for joining us, taking the time out. We'll be continuing on our discussion on growth, and we'll dive right into the questions which we have. Our focus of the discussion today will primarily be on the metrics that growth teams measure to ensure that they're growing at the speed that they're supposed to grow. So my first question for you, Nadine, is what are the key metrics that you look at every day for growth, essentially, at SARWA?
Sure. I mean, SARWA is a financial technology, right? So when you look into growth metrics, it really depends on the company and what industry you're in. E-commerce, for example, would be very, very different. But for us, one of the key metrics we look into day in, day out is the AUM, what we call AUM, which is assets under management.
Okay.
And so that's one key focus that we have, that we monitor very closely. Now, of course, we also look into, the number of registered users. Traffic is not that relevant for us because at the end of the day, you can just get a lot of traffic, but it's going to be very tough to convert them. But one also metric that we keep a very close eye on is our churn rate, because it's very important for us to, have stickiness of clients and make sure that we retain them long term. So our LTV is actually quite high in comparison to our CAC and so on. So we have metrics for all different funnels that we throughout the journey of the client, but these are the main ones we focus on.
Yeah. So my perspective was for fintech, retention is a much more important metric than for a traditional e-commerce company. So you guys dive deeper into the churn rates, for instance. That is what I would have thought as well.
Correct. Yes, you're absolutely right, because it's I would say a little bit more difficult to convert a client that's in the financial industry, and it is a little bit more expensive. So it requires a lot of education beforehand, a lot of content creation, and so on. Especially for us, because we're a new industry. When we talk about robo advisory and online investing, it requires a lot of pushing, educational content.
So what is your definition of customer acquisition then? Anyone who comes to your platform and enters their email address, is he a customer acquired, or a customer is acquired when he deposits the first $100 in his account?
You got it right. It's when they deposit the first funding amount, which is for us, it's a minimum of $500 because we're an investment platform. But again, we're one of the lowest in the region, if not the lowest. But yes, we consider a client, and someone who converted fully is when they're a funded client.
Okay. Also, then my next question is, do you use any kind of data visualization tools to make sure that you're tracking these matrices on a daily basis? If you do, which ones and which ones you don't? Any insights into those?
Yeah, of course. I mean, data dictates all the decision we make, right? So in terms of tools, you can have a lot, and it really depends on the stage of growth you're at. But if you want me to name a few, you have, let's say, Tableau, Raw, CleverTap, Insider. We personally use Power BI. So that's the tool we actually use to create our own segmentation and insights into our clients. We use, of course, your typical Google Analytics, Google Studio to look into the multi-touch point attribution from our clients. And
do you guys use a free version of Google Analytics or a paid version?
Currently, we're using a free version.
So that is not a lot of companies across the region use free version, from my understanding. My question is, what is the tipping point? When do you know that you actually need to use the paid version?
It really depends, again, on what the objectives out of this data is. So if you feel that you have enough data to understand your clients, and again, we have the luxury of collecting a lot of data on our clients because we're a financial institution. So basically on the journey of onboarding, you have a questionnaire and we get a lot of information. So it gives us a lot of direct insights. So currently we don't feel the need. And I'm a big advocate of actually, using what you can in a lean way and not just like collecting tools that you're not going to use.
Agreed.
We are strongly currently positioned to have enough to be able to build exponential growth, and we're happy.
CRM must be an important tool for you then, I'm assuming, no?
Yeah, absolutely, of course.
Yeah. Do you have like, what CRM tool do you use, if you do not mind me asking?
There's a long debate on CRM tools. I mean, you have the usual suspect of HubSpot and Salesforce and so on. We use ActiveCampaign, and so far we're very happy with them. We also, add our own tech to it. So we use a lot of the open APIs to kind of maneuver around. We do a lot of our own tools, also parallel. But yeah, we want to have as much as possible a bird eye view on our client and centralize all information in one place.
Okay, my other question is how, you mentioned having your own tech. So how closely does the product team work with the marketing team? Because there's always a bit of, back and forth between the product team and marketing team. In the last interview I had with Emre, he said that his philosophy was to always have a product person within the marketing team. I don't know, what is your take on it?
Absolutely. I think I completely agree. We are very close, small team, sort of. So we work very, very closely together, and day in, day out. So whether it's the product, the tech, or the marketing team, and the sales and ops, so we work very much cross-department, cross-functional, very closely together. We have very regular meetings. So it has to go hand in hand. You cannot have growth separate, whether it's from marketing perspective or product or the sales team.
That's right. So, and then that's all right. Benefits of working from home. My next question is, how do you define a monthly active user per se? And what is like, so for instance, in e-commerce, we use daily active, monthly active, weekly active quite often. Do you use terms like those? And if you do, what are those definitions like?
We do use, I would say, less daily, but more weekly and monthly. Again, it really depends. There's no standard for industries, right, when it comes to these terminologies. But for us, of course, it is about, the funded clients mainly. But also we look very, very closely into the behavior of our clients. So it's about the monthly redeposits and how often do they log into their dashboard. But we try as much as possible to encourage healthy behaviors, which are about monthly redeposits, and that's a metric we look at.
So like, how do you look at engagement as a metric? Is engagement important for you? Because I'm not too sure about fintech, but like I have a bank account with Monzo, for instance. They keep sending me quite interesting push notifications from time to time, to keep me engaged. So how does engagement work in the fintech world? That's what I would want to understand. So
to us, it's really logging into your dashboard, and how often do you log into the dashboard? How do you interact with the content that we push to you? Whether it's on our blog, because we have a blog that sits also on the website, or all our push notification or our automation, so the open to click rate. So we monitor a lot of different smaller metrics within the major one, which is, like I mentioned, our top one is about redeposits. So that's how we really know that we're really engaging with our clients.
Okay, cool. And now I'll move the conversation a little, and I'll want you, if possible, to share some examples of some growth hacks which you might have done at SARWA, which would have resulted in exponential results, if you can. Any examples of some growth hacks which have yielded good results for you?
Sure. I mean, there are a few that come to mind, but I can tell you, like when we started and we launched the company, I needed to be very careful with the balance between everything that's unpaid media and paid media, and whatever we can do to just push growth without having to pay for it. So what we did is we reached out to community influencers within the industry itself, and it speaks to the power of the values behind the product, because to us, look, we are a profit organization, right? But at the same time, our approach has always been about making the industry a little bit more transparent, more affordable to everyone. So we like to say we're all about democratizing investing and putting it, to help people's life and better that, their financial future. So it really spoke to a lot of these influencers that ultimately we called our SARWA ambassadors, and what they've done, anything that any new product development features that we had, they started pushing to their community, and that became something that really helped us exponentially and organically grow. So that's an example that comes to mind.
Nice.
One other example I can tell you about is, the first ad that we actually launched, which again really spoke to the same values, and we tried to bring a bit more awareness towards what's going on within the practices in the industry here. You get a lot of these cold callings, and some services try to take advantage of people in the region that are saving money. We have one of the most expensive financial services in the world. So literally we decided, you know what, we're gonna, in our ad, talk about this. Okay. So it was a humorous, but at the same time presenting the reality of what's going on. And it was really shared a lot. I think we got around 250,000 views on our ad. So it was
nice. Thank you. My last question is actually with regards to, if I were to ask you to paint me a picture of your marketing tech stack, what would that look like? So what do you include in that? That can obviously have your own products as well and some external products. So if you can like break it down for me a little.
So I would say it's very lean. We try to use it in the most efficient way. Like I said earlier, I'm not an advocate of just adding tools, because I do believe about just having again advantages of working at home, of having all the right tools. But I can tell you, you mentioned CRM. We have social listening, so we use Hootsuite for social listening. SEMrush for SEO, and a whole bunch of different tools. But at the end of the day, it's all about what needs to be done to reach the objective and understand the client. So
agreed. Just one last question. Sorry, do you think you guys have reached a product market fit?
I believe so. Yes, I do believe so.
And how did you come to that conclusion?
The first time I realized we did that is when we started having a non-family, non-friends clients that told us, you know what, I needed that service and I've been waiting for that service. But in terms of data, you do have different ways to make sure that you actually reach that. Again, customer stickiness and retention. We've done a few surveys where we wanted to make sure, if we stop offering a specific kind of service, what would the impact be? And we saw a lot of really great numbers. So that helps us to understand that we're there.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time. That's about it. That's all.